All right, so this is super interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even know that Willie Rattigan did an interview with one of the attorneys. That's also a representative of the People's National Party. Um, so let's check that. I'm about to check this out.
I can't in one show because it go all the way back to slavery, and we can show you. We have everything here to show you. But what we're going to do, in order to bring in noted attorney Christopher Henry, what I'm planning to do is just put up this document and just quickly run through it, give a timeline, and then we can get into the explanation and the question and the questions and the answers with attorney Henry. All right, here we go. This is what we've been able to gather so far. Right, that Orange Grove Estate, out of Orange Grove Estate, this is a big parcel of land. That in 1970, we had 284 acres. In 2006, we have 705 acres, and that's the Cooper Spend part, not the 1970 piece of 284 acres, right? Now, those parcels are owned by New Falmouth Resource Limited. See the dates? 1970, let me go back quickly, show you. 1970, 2006. This is the piece that we're concerned about. This one right here. All right. No, it's no. Those parcels are not owned by this company. No, the company in 2007. Remember now, we know 2006 they acquired this. In 2007 they went and they started an eviction case to get rid of the people living on the land. Took a while. 2010 the court decided the case for the owners with the title, not the people living on the land. The people who wanted to get rid of the people living on the land. And at that time, there was an adverse possession argument made, and it failed. And those of you who watch the program on Wednesday, you have a pretty good idea of what adverse possession is. But rest easy. Mr. Henry is here, and he's going to explain all of that to us. Then an eviction order was issued. So the court said, listen, you people with the title, yes, you are the rightful owners, and the people living on the land, they should get off. And an eviction order was issued, 2010. 2012, the PNP attempted to get the land now through the National Housing Act. But here's the problem. The problem is that they came after the decision was made. And it appears, based on my understanding, is that if they had gone before 2010, if any government had gone before 2010 and said, listen, we're going to get this land through the National Housing Act, which gives the government the right to take parcels of land for development. But there was a court order before that, not after. It was a before it. So they come late, basically. So what the PNP did at that time, they filed a caveat, which is saying that we have an interest in this property. And you know, once you file that caveat, it's difficult to sell that property because when you get the title, when you do the title search, the caveat is going to show up. And who wants to buy a piece of property with a title that somebody else has an interest in? What you're essentially doing, you're buying a lawsuit. That's what you're doing. So that's why they said, when they're buying land, they said, we want a free and clear title. We don't want anything from anybody else on the title. We want the title to be only in your name with no liens, no caveats, nothing on it. So there was an appeal, and the court ruled against the PNP in 2013. Well, actually, no. The court ruled against the 2012 case was decided in 2013, and the court ruled against the PNP. Now, in 2016, there was an appeal. They appealed the decision. And the Court of Appeal affirmed what the lower court said, that you people with the title in hand, the title that's registered, you are the rightful owners, and the people on the property must get off. Now, guess what? My understanding is that you have was it 6 or 10? I don't remember, 6 or 10 years. Mr. Henry is going to explain that to you. Once you get an eviction order, there's a certain time period within which you must use it. You can't keep it and then 20 years later, your son or your grandson say, all right, I'm going to do it. There's a certain time period. Apparently, they didn't do it. But in 2020, another caveat was filed against the property for 88 acres. I'm still trying to figure out who that person is and whether the 88 acres is this one here.
Stop using ChatGPT and Canva like children's toys. A 1-minute quiz.
Part of the 705 acres the Cooper spent. And then in 2026, I think it's 10 years for the court order, for the eviction order. I think it's 2010, 2020. No, it's 6 years, I believe. 6 years, 2016. So what happened is in 2026, they went back this year and they essentially got to refresh the order. So now there is an order to get these people off the land. Lots of questions, people. Lots and lots and lots of questions. Because one of the things we're finding out is that this company, New Falmouth Resorts, it has to file with the government every year. And it hasn't been filed. And I think there's a movement now to remove it, or it's been removed from the list of companies doing business in Jamaica. And if that is the case, then if you have a company that's not doing business, but New Falmouth Resorts, it has to file with the government every year. And it hasn't been filed. And I think there's a movement now to remove it, or it's been removed from the list of companies doing business in Jamaica. And if that is the case, then if you have a company that's not doing business, but it's a Jamaican company, then can they move forward with an action like this? And overriding all of this is this one question: who is responsible? That's the way we look at it from our corner of the social media space, because we say we don't want to start with slavery and then bring it, because you're going to get confused, people. Trust me, you are going to get confused. We said let's start with who's responsible for getting those people for demolishing the homes. Start there. Let's look at the order. Who signed the order? Who is the claimant? Because up to now, we still don't have full answers to all of these things. Once you start there and you start going backwards, trust me, the whole thing is going to unravel. That was a quick look at what we think happened. Now I'd like to bring in noted attorney Christopher Henry. And full disclosure, I know Christopher quite well. So if you see me and Christopher get familiar, I know Christopher quite well. Notwithstanding,
Let's go.
he's a professional. And relationships have nothing to do with facts and the law. And so I'm going to bring him in now and have him explain to us his understanding of what's going on at Cooper's Pen. And I'd particularly like him to explain adverse possession. What does it mean? Without further ado, family, welcome.
Thank you. Good
All right.
afternoon, good evening.
Blessings.
You can't really talk about Cooper's Pen without talking about slavery, actually. And as much as I know there might be some sort of confusion, what took place at Cooper's Pen is a direct legacy of slavery. It has its roots in racism, in classism, everything, because the persons that have been displaced are persons that are more than likely descendants of those who were slaves on the sugar plantations that were in Trelawney. But let me not bother start there. So the most interesting situation is I haven't fully read the judgment yet regarding the adverse possession. And I'm wondering how the judge was unable to state in the first instance where they said that adverse possession was not satisfied, how he was able to arrive at that position. But on a brief read, I understood that he was not satisfied that they were in possession for the requisite period. Now, under the Limitations of Actions Act, which was passed in 1881, which is still on the books, you need at least 12 years to be on a piece of land. It is 60 years if it is what they call quote-unquote crown land or government land. Into his mind, the persons that had applied or that...
One second, Christopher. Let me just quickly interrupt you and just put it up so people can see the act that you mentioned, Limitations of Actions. Here it is. It is right here. And it says right here, just hear Mr. Henry mention it. It says right here, right of entry to recover land or rent limited to
12 years.
12 years. See it right as well.
Right.
It's that. All right, let me move that. Continue, sir.
Right. So it has been interesting to see that the adverse possession application was defeated in that situation, because the persons who were on the land, they were unable to, Justice McIntosh's mind, who is now retired, that they couldn't prove that they were in possession for the requisite period. Fast forward now to 2026. Eviction order was given. You are correct, it is 6 years. When you cannot enforce an eviction order after 6 years, you have to get permission from the court to enforce it after 6 years. Fast forward to 2026 now, I suspect, and I am of the view, that the persons who had applied the adverse possession argument in all the way back in 2011, 2013, thereabout, they now actually have a right or have established a right of adverse possession in the lands at Cooper's Pen.
What?
Because 12 years would have gone.
Hold on.
So lands at
Go back.
that the fast forward to 2026 now, I suspect an decision for the requisite period. Fast forward now to 2026. Eviction order was given. You are correct, it is 6 years. When you cannot enforce an eviction order after 6 years, you have to get permission from the court to enforce it after 6 years. Fast forward to 2026 now, I suspect, and I am of the view, that the persons who had applied the adverse possession argument in all the way back in 2011, 2013, thereabout,
Right.
they now actually have a right or have established a right of adverse possession in the lands at Cooper's Pen. Because 12 years would have gone. So in my view, there is what they call in law an equitable interest, not the legal interest, which is on paper. An equitable interest that these persons, if they can prove that they have been on the land from 2013, that can establish a right to be on the land via adverse possession, despite the eviction order, because they sat down on the eviction order for how long? They knew these persons were there, the persons were there open and everything, and they just didn't decide to move on it until just the other day, as we saw. So
emotional damage. What can go so?
Yo, this is huge. So he's establishing through law an actual right for the people of Cooper's Pen that can identify that they have been there for 12 years for an application for adverse possession. This is huge. And for the persons that are on lands for 12 years or more, y'all need to listen to the lawyers that be teaching us, that be teaching you. You should be invested in this information heavily. This is what we call unsolicited advice or legal advice through, just online conversation about the topic of Cooper's Pen. Let's continue.
Right to be on the land via adverse possession, despite the eviction order, because they sat down to be on the land via adverse possession, despite the eviction order, because they sat down on the eviction order for how long? They knew these persons were there, the persons were there open and everything, and they just didn't decide to move on it until just the other day, as we saw. So I am wondering if the order was
for just 67.
No, me, I wonder about this and gentlemen. I wonder if they weren't confident about something, and that's why they never move forward. And that me I wonder about it.
carried out. The order was the other day, as we saw. So I am wondering if the order was carried out, the order was fulfilled, yet the paper owner's title had been extinguished. And it is quite possible that that was the case. Because these persons, if they can prove they were on the land for more than a 12-year requisite period, then an adverse possession case would be established, and that section could have defeated the paper owner. So when they get the eviction order and come in like Nicodemus in the night to enforce it, I am wondering if they enforced a null order. And that is the question now that arises.
Well, what they're claiming is that they refreshed that order. I guess the 2010
Yeah,
order.
I saw that it was refreshed. As
In
the
this
only
year-
person that seemed to have that order is nationwide. I don't know why.
right. Mention that.
Yeah.
But you know what? You mentioned something about them coming like Nicodemus in the night, and we're skipping around because people, you know, in order to do it sequential, it's going to take a lot of time. But we want to get to the salient points, the important points that you are talking about. One of them is whether or not the bailiff acted in accordance with the rules. Here is another law. And this one talks about a bailiff, here it is, power and duty of bailiff under such warrants. When the bailiff get a warrant, all right? Now let me go right here. Look at this. Because remember now, we've been told that the bailiff arrived on the scene somewhere, well, in the wee hours of the morning.
Yes.
With a battalion of policemen. And there's also a question as to whether or not the policemen, if they were not deputized or they were not bailiffs, if they acted outside the scope of their employment by removing the people's possessions, they weren't supposed to do that. Now look at 249. It says, any warrant to a bailiff to give possession of a tenement shall justify him in entering upon the premises, naming the warrant, meaning that if the bailiff get it from the court and him say, go ahead and execute, fine. And it says, with such assistance as he shall deem necessary, meaning that you can call the police if you believe that there will be a breach of the peace, meaning that people stop you from exercising your legitimate and lawful purpose, which is to remove people from the property. So it's I want the police here as backup.
Yeah.
And it says, and in giving possession accordingly. But look at this. Look at the next part. Let me wipe off this. Hold on there. Let me wipe off all that. This is important. Look on this part, you know. It says, but, see here, no entry under such warrant shall be made except between the hours of 8 in the morning and 4
in the afternoon.
Houston, you have a problem. Hey, listen, man. I know I'm not no lawyer, but I just knew something was wrong. How could it be possible that you could do an operation like that 3 years ago? It just didn't sit right with me. I don't know the law, but I'm like, there has to be a timeline that makes some decency about the situation. 3 a.m. in the morning, bro. How does somebody recover from being evicted when they are just about to fall asleep? Or then they in the middle of sleep? Yo, the amount of court cases supposed to come out of this. None of the people in my group are spend. Me wanna fight for myself with that. You cannot allow politics to make on a day here so and not punish these people immensely. But yo, the level of lawsuit, brother. Not supposed to, nah, man. People feel lose their work. Yo, people feel lose, yo.
Afternoon.
So,
I actually had it at 6, so but I'm enlightened now. Thank you for this. Thank you for this.
so we want no. All them end up there at 2 and 3 in the morning.
That is another question.
Wow.
That is another question. I see one of the comments.
Hey, shout out to Will Rattigan. Yo, I'm always learning something on Will Rattigan. That's a fact. Yo, bro. So, how is this even? I gotta look back at that. I gotta screenshot this. I'm sorry. This is screenshot world. I have to screenshot this. Yeah, I'm going back to this. Lord have mercy. Anybody come talk to me foolishness? Hey, check this out. Look at this highlight right here. I'm definitely taking a screenshot of that. No, sir. Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
So we want no. All them end up there at 2 and 3 in the morning.
That is another
possible?
question. That is another question. I see one of the comments saying the order was first read by Emily Shields. Them is only labor rights seem to have that order. And I'm not even going pretty up your argument. It's only labor rights seem to have the order. Right. So
So now it becomes more than just a legal argument, but it also becomes a political argument.
Yes, of course.
Yes, because interesting. I thought any way you put it, if it's 6 a.m., if it's 3 a.m., the act is quite clear that it says between 8 and 4.
8 a.m. and 4 p.m.
8 a.m. You can't enforce any order for eviction other than between those hours. So for them to reach there at 6 a.m., it's still ultra virus or what they call it.
And you know, no, you see, when I hear this now, I have to go back to what Horace Chan said. Horace Chan was defending the police that they were operating under the law, but that particular law is stating that the police were not operating under the law. They should not be enforcing an eviction at 3 a.m. in the morning. That's against the law. Mighty God.
Out of the ordinary. So my view, even if the order was refreshed, and I still maintain it, is that
Yo, this is just so wrong, bro. Yo, I cannot believe this. Yo, I can't believe. Yo, this is insane.
the adverse matters are what they call out of the ordinary. At 6 a.m.
No, how can they be so bold-faced, blatant, and disgusting with it? Like, this is thuggery, you know? Exactly what the man I got said. This is thuggery, you know? This is intimidation, you know? This is thuggery. This is dictatorship. This is intimidation. Horace Chan, Andrew Wallace. Listen, bro, anything that befalls you guys, I'm not surprised. I mean, literally, anything. If I wake up in the morning and somebody says that this happened and that happened to you, I'll be like, okay. Not that I am responsible in any shape or form or wishing it on you. I'm just saying the level of evil that you guys are responsible for. Bruh, if anything was to happen to anyone, I would not be surprised. We can't pour out all of this wickedness on the land and affect so much people's life in a one negative way, and then there's no recourse through the judgment of the Almighty and the natural order of things. You're crazy, man. And every day, bucket car where the bottom drop out, but one day it does drop out. Yo, this is stubborn.
And it's still
This is
ultra virus or what they call out of the ordinary. So my view, even if the order was refreshed, and I still maintain it, is that the adverse possession interest is there. And I think Donovan Williams' counsel has filed a constitutional motion for the violation of rights, and I think within that application it speaks to now the adverse possession interest being established, as well as the violation of rights of breaching of that section that you just read.
Well, let me ask you a quick question, Chris.
So Donovan Williams is really representing some of the people that that's really happening. So if they should win the case, Donovan Williams will be getting paid for his services. Against you know, that. Yeah.
As it relates to adverse possession,
Oh, this is so
12 years.
interesting.
Does it mean then that me, if I were the person involved here, so Kevin Stew is on the property at year 1, do I have to be there at year 12 personally?
No, you as we say in Jamaica, your gingeration can be on the land, so you can.
Did this man just say gingeration, bro? What the hell is going on? Yo, Chris, what's going on?
Who man's is this?
Yo.
Who man's is this?
This man saying gingeration?
Be there at year 12 personally?
Oh,
No.
God. What?
You as we say in Jamaica, your gingeration can be on
I can
the land,
Yeah, man.
so you can tack on time. So you,
Okay.
Kevin Stew, don't have to be directly, but your son can be there, and you can tack on the time that you had before, right? So
Okay.
it can be one big long time.
As long as my family is represented there.
Yes.
Now,
It's-
is there any provision for
All right, so that's interesting what you just said. That's an educational moment. So You personally don't have to be there. Somebody that is in the family can be there, stay, and it records as the time that you all were there added up together to 12 years to qualify for adverse possession. I think that is something that needs to be put at a footnote for every single person that is on so-called squatter, that are so-called squatters, please and thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to this man right here, representative of the People's National Party, Felix Christopher. Didn't win his seat, but he is a representative of the People's National Party. Lawyer, I didn't even know that. Very interesting.
Non-family members.
No,
Oh,
unfortunately.
by the way, Andrea, she said Donovan Williams, who is Donovan Williams going to fight his party? Well, according to them, his party is not fighting this. And the money that will be paid out is not from his party.
My family is represented there.
Yes.
Now,
It's-
is there any provision for non-family members?
no, unfortunately not. It have to show a
Okay.
continuity between the family.
Okay. So as long as so for me or anybody related to me, so property number one, lot number one.
Mhm.
If I am there or any relative of mine is there for the duration of the 12 years, then we have an adverse possession claim.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What else would I have to have been doing on that property?
It's simple. You have to be the first major factor to prove adverse possession is that you have to be in possession. In possession
Okay.
don't literally mean say you have to live on it. It means that you have to do acts of possession. So for example, you fence it off. You put a no trespassing sign there. You have cleaned it up if it's just land. You've cleaned it on a regular basis. You've visited it on a regular basis in terms of doing you plant, especially in country. This is a live issue. You've planted your crops on it. No, everybody knows a Marsh John land. Like they think it's Marsh John land because it's open and undisturbed for the requisite period. And then another factor is that you pay the taxes on the land. You pay the property taxes on the land. So once all these factors combine, then you have a successful application for adverse possession.
Whoa.
Introducing Clip B. Whatever you can picture, you can generate. Want something wild like a man?
This is really solid stuff right here. I'm not even gonna go any further. I'm just gonna let you guys know that. I'm just gonna advise you guys to go over to Mr. Rocky's page and check out the rest of this conversation. Alright. Right there. Okay. Make sure you go and subscribe to the Reason Got to God. See it right there on the screen that is on top of that. Amen. That is it. Like, share, subscribe. Wow. Whew. This is some heavy stuff.